With the money I saved there, which was about $4,000, I then wanted to go travel somewhere. So I just Googled, where can I go to volunteer? And teaching English was a massive thing. It was like very common. And I used a site called IVHQ where you just picked a country and then they teamed you up with a volunteer organization there. And then you went. A common fallacy people make in their minds is that talk about the box. There's like the status quo box that exists. And a lot of people are in the box or out of the box. But a common fallacy is when people are in their own little bubble, they will generate their own box. And if their box varies from the status quo box, they then convince themselves that they are unique and different, as if they're out in this mecca of thought that exists outside the status quo box. But the ignorance is that they're still within their own box. They've just made their own little box somewhere else within this thought process. And because they live within their own little bubble, they never understand that there's a limit to their little box. So you can't say like, oh, go and be open-minded and do stuff, because they'll just be open-minded within their little box. They kind of have to go and experience and see like, oh my God, there's the status quo box, there's my box, and then there's this box. There's a frame to these boxes, and the frame's on a wall, and the wall is in a house, which is in a block, and then the whole thing is a painting on, another wall. Like, who knows how far out this abstraction goes. I think in the US, we're a lot more driven towards a, material outcome than a lot of other cultures are, as opposed to, an emotional outcome. One thing I liked about living in the tribes is they would all get together and build, a house. Like, we got called in one time because the house had burnt down, and we all had to go and then help them rebuild this house. And because we're just volunteers, we were horrible at building these houses. So mainly we were just splitting bamboo and making the raw materials so they would actually climb up on these big things and build these houses. But it was like a thing that the whole group was doing. And the woman who was there, her husband actually died in the fire when the house burned down. And it was a big thing. So it was also a ceremony celebrating her. And a member of the government came down with this big donation bag too, and it was a big donation bag of stuff. So she'd have all of her amenities and things sorted out. I think it was just food and toothpaste and things that you just generally have for living. So, but it was much more of a community thing for a staple of their little village. And then it became a monument, essentially, to what had happened. And it was cool because it wasn't like anyone was doing it she wasn't like, oh my God, I want a nice house. This whole thing happened. I want this. It was the other people deciding what would be good for the whole little community. You get poorer and poorer to a point where their dollar's worth so little that they literally can't. They could be an investment broker for the largest company that they have. And then maybe they can fly over, maybe they can do their stuff. I mean, that might be kind of extreme, but the point is their middle class is so much less. And I think it creates more of a harmony, because it's the same with even in the big cities. Everybody knows this throughout their whole community, is they just have this resonating respect for each other and this understanding. And here, people just complain a lot. And it's not even legit complaining. We have people complaining saying they're poor. They're not poor. They'll be making $18, $20 an hour, and they're like, oh my God, I have all my bills and stuff. But it's you get to have bills. You get to do these things, and people compare themselves to the top 1%. And it's fine, you're not them, but you've got to understand what you can do, what you have, and where you can go. And I think people forget that. They just complain for the sake of complaining. I think it is hurting us.